Well, hello and welcome to our course, Writing 242 Technical Communication. What I'm going to do with this first lecture is do a little bit of an introduction and also get into chapter 1. If you look in the textbook that we have, it's divided into 5 sections. And so what we're going to talk about here, we'll be getting an overview, thinking about the technical communication and the entrepreneurial workplace. And so we'll be navigating through this whole book as we go, but since we're doing chapter 1, we'll just focus on this first one here. The textbook is Technical Communication Today by Richard Johnson Sheehan. There's several type of resources that we have. There's another one that's an alternative textbook as well, if you can consider, called Business Communications. But for this is going to be our main textbook. And so this is focusing on how we communicate effectively in the entrepreneurial workplace. So in this chapter, we're going to learn how to develop a writing process that is suitable for the technical workplace. So just think about this, the writing process of how we're going to do that. And a key thing that we'll talk about is identifying the genre that you need. And there's like different micro genres that we'll be thinking about. And so each one will be slightly different. So you want to be coming up with a good strategy for helping you to write effectively. So you want to identify the features that the technical communication and the entrepreneurship have in common. So you want to identify the key characteristics of the technical communication, identify 8 traits of a successful entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is going to be able to communicate effectively. Recognize the importance of effective writing and spoken communication in your career. You're going to be judged both in written and spoken communication. So here we're going to get a chance to practice both of those and make sure that we have good, clear messages. So technical communication is really the workplace central nervous system, if you think of an analogy with the human body. So we're going to be helping you develop a writing process that is suitable for the technical workplace. So the workplace communication, it's networked. You will be having people that are located with you. You'll have people that are distributed. And so technology forms a nervous system that connects the workers. It's fast-paced. Our connected workplace requires that you work smarter, not harder. And in general, a genre is based approach that helps you to determine the content, organization, style, design, and medium for delivery. It helps you anticipate the audience expectations. Think about the questions that they will have. What are the things that they're wanting to get out of this form of communication? And you want to use the microgenre as a stepping stone to larger projects. Here's an example of a couple different types of writing products. You can have an elevator speech, something that's short, just a few minutes long, that you could communicate effectively in an elevator. So it could be written, could be a narrative. Most likely it's going to be a narrative, but you can have that written or visualized in your mind. And here's another example of a proposal. So each genre has its own content, organization, style, and design. And so we're seeing a couple different things this here. So for an elevator speech, you want to have a memorable conclusion. You want to have a 2 to 3 points that you're going to be highlighting. You want to have a good introduction of who you are. Proposal, that's more focused on the idea rather than yourself. And so you have an introduction, you describe the situation, what are the possibilities, and basically what is your approach, a conclusion, and then talking about the budget. So innovation genres in the technical writing process, you want to recognize how genres in the technical workplaces are used to innovate and turn new ideas into documents. So a genre-centric technical writing process includes 5 stages. And so we'll first of all talk about here, and we'll have a graphic in just a minute. So the first thing is you need to do the research and planning. And so This could be doing a literature search to find out what's going in this area, what your organization, what is its intellectual property that would apply this. You want to be then thinking about the organization and drafting, how you're going to architect this. You want to be improving your style, making sure that it's effective. Some forms of communication need to be extremely brief. You want to be designing things that you are going to be useful, the most useful for conveying the content that you want. And finally, doing the revision and editing. Writing can be a difficult process, and so don't think that it's something that you could do it quickly and then you're done. To write well, it takes time and it takes energy. And so here we're seeing those things, but we're playing it out in a little bit more detail. So you need to be determining your genre. We saw two examples, elevator, speech, and proposal for an outline. Doing your research. Your research is going to seed into your organizing and drafting. Come up with an outline. Then you could have various drafts. You can be then try to improve the style. What is the way that you could be communicating these ideas that would be most effective? Designing the document, and finally revising the document. And when you've reached the finish line, you're going to have a finished product. And so these are things that you can be considering. So we'll take these one at a time here. So for research, for the startup research, you want to develop a quick overview, find keywords, locate important figures and available sources. So both internal resources and external resources. More formal research, you would locate the database evidence or generate your own through observations, experiments, and interviews. And so there's a couple different ways that you can be getting this kind of information, sometimes doing surveys or panel discussions or things like that. In terms of planning, you start your project planning with these 4 steps. You want to define your purpose. And so this is where very early in the process of writing, what are you writing? Why are you writing it? And what is you trying to accomplish? And so that's going to be important. You want to develop your reader profile. Who is your audience? And so once you've got a clear idea of who your audience is, that's going to help you to architect your writing strategy. You want to tap into your creative skills. Writing can be very creative. This is you representing this information with all of your talent and skills. And finally, you want to come up with a strategic plan of how you're going to execute that. So those are the basic steps of what you're going to be thinking about. So in stage 2, this is where we do the organizing and drafting. So first of all, for the organizing, you choose a genre to organize the content. So maybe you're going to have a micro genre. Maybe you'll have a combination of things that you have an elevator pitch, an executive summary, and then a proposal. These are various things that you can have as you go from short types of communication to more complete types of documentation. You want to organize your ideas into familiar patterns. There'll be different types of patterns that the audience would be looking for, and so you want to be trying to do that. For drafting, you want to generate your first draft, and then so you can be getting a chance to be looking how that works, and then weave together the facts, data, and examples. How can you best architect that and improve upon that draft? So what about improving your style? Good style will make your documents and presentations clear and persuasive. So for a plain style that stresses clarity and accuracy, sometimes that can be very useful. Maybe for a more factual type of audience, they want to be doing that decision making on their own, versus maybe you're trying to persuade the audience. So in this case, you're trying to motivate the readers by appealing to their senses, personal values, and emotions. So this gets back to make sure you know your audience and that you're improving what you have to reflect what's most important for them. For designing, readers are, quote, raters for information. Your readers want important ideas and facts highlighted. Make information accessible, interesting, and attractive. And so you can be thinking about the various ways that you're going to be doing this. If it's on a website, this would be one of the ways that you're going to be influencing the way that you're going to help your quote readers to be able to get that information. Make it attractive, make it interesting. When I'm writing a document, I always like to have subheaders and ways that they can navigate through that material quickly and effectively in a way that's going to be the most useful for them. Finally, you have the revising and editing. A well-edited document helps build your reader's trust in your ideas. So this is an interesting thing. If a reader trusts what you're doing, they're going to continue to read what you have, and they're going to be using that as a resource. And so that would be wonderful that they then see that, okay, when they see something written by you, they know that it's going to be a well-written product. So you will learn 4 levels of editing as we go through this process. First, there's the revision process, just making sure that you're clarifying your writing. There's substantive editing, where this is where you get into the way that you're communicating that effectively. There's copy editing, and there's proof editing. And so you can have a proofreader or someone that is skilled to maybe go from you being a technical developer to something that's going to a publication, and they're making sure it's exquisite. You're trying to make it excellent, and they're trying to move it up to that next level for making it publishable in whatever form that your branding for your company would have. So the kind of questions for discussion that you can be thinking about, what are the kinds of revising and editing do you usually do when you write? Usually for a lot of people in the technical fields, they don't do much writing, and they may not write that well. And that could be a huge detriment for your career. So how are technical communication and entrepreneurship related? So we're going to be identifying the features that technical communication entrepreneurs have in common as we look through this material. So for technical communications, it is a process of managing technical information that allows people to take action. Action item list, clarity of who's going to do what is it you're trying to accomplish. Entrepreneurship is a process of sensing new opportunities, developing new products and services, creating new methods of production, and constructively reorganizing resources in new ways. And so you can see how have a slightly different focus for what's happening for each. You can be thinking about this as a question of what parallels do you see between these 2 definitions. There is an overlap between these, and so that's something you would like to identify. So what are key characteristics of a technical communication? You want to identify the characteristics of the technical communicators. So here we're seeing an example in a document, a publication, maybe a final report, some things that you can be thinking about. Technical communicators are highly mobile, interactive, and adaptable. So those are characteristics that you want to be having as a good technical communicator. They're reader-centric, and so you want to be thinking about your audience. Team-oriented, especially when you get to complicated documents, it's likely that you're going to have to be writing this in a team, and so there's going to be some collaboration. You want it to be highly visual. And so here you can see that there's all kinds of headers, subheaders, figures, tables, bang boxes. All of this are things of how you can help to make it visually appealing and easily accessible. It's shaped by ethical, legal, and professional issues. And so definitely these are all things we want to be considering. And here, in the context of what we're trying to do in a Christian institution, we want to be thinking about that perspective. And so our ethical standards are high. And it's shaped by international and transactional demands. And so you need to be thinking about your audience. And if you have an international audience, there's going to be nuances that you're going to have to be thinking about, because your words may actually mean different things as you go cross-cultural. So what are the traits of a successful entrepreneur? And so we'll talk about 8 traits of successful entrepreneurs here. And also in the textbook, we'll get some more details about that. So a successful entrepreneur is an innovator, being able to be coming up with new ideas. There's a leader, and so people will want to follow. They're an effective leader. They know how to actively listen to what people are saying. They're network savvy. They know how to network with other people in various forms of communication. They're self-reliant, and so they're assured of themselves. They're ethical and moral, and those things are important, and we would strongly resonate with that. They're resilient, so when they can be agile and respond and come out on top in various types of scenarios. And finally, they're an effective communicator. We're trying to get some more insight into that as we're looking at this course. So how important is technical communication? We want to recognize the importance of effective written and spoken communication. So here is something that was published in the IEEE, study published in the Journal of the Institutes for IEEE found that engineers spend over 50% of their workday communicating through writing. So interesting enough, you think of emails, you think about reports, you think about doing analyses and having that written up, writing code and documenting that code, whatever it is. Those are just examples of a few ways that we need to be communicating throughout the day. So for a survey of the Workforce Solutions Group concluded over 60% of employees report applicants lack the communication and interpersonal skills. Think of that, 60%. So that's one of the reasons why this is an important course for you to be effective and to really shine, especially early on in your career, to set that tone so that you're going to be able to go well. So communication ranked as the top basic skill in demand. For a report by the National Commission on Writing, writing skills are the, quote, kiss of death. If you write something poorly, people will probably give you a little bit of grace and maybe go through maybe as much as the paragraph, but quickly they're going to lose interest and move on. They're going to try and find something more effective that's trying to communicate that. Or if this is a proposal, they're going to not bother to go through it further, and they're going to find somebody else to do that. 51% of companies say that they frequently or almost always take writing into consideration when hired salaried employees. You're going to be having face-to-face interviews. You could have, might ask for writing samples. Those are all the kind of things that you need to be aware of in your career. Okay, well, that's going to be it for our first lecture. So thank you very much.